Well, it's not really that easy since you're red side. You're mostly looking at trades because...
Maokai is a big one. That's up for me, but probably it'll be banned.
I guess there's the utility junglers in the Maokai, the Sejuani and the likes, but right now you need to properly count what are the OPs in the game.
So and we have Finn joining us as well.
Hello everyone, I'm here for my draft analysis.
Ooh, hit me, Finn.
Hit you?
Whoa,
guys, those frustrations from getting benched all the time, I guess. You can hit me once.
Right now. I got the green light, but let's talk about the draft. Tana being taken out, Caliste, Sion, power picks as we usually see. My eyes are still... Pantheon hasn't been picked this series, right?
True, yeah.
So that is a champion that has been kind of like not really relevant for these two teams, which is weird because it was really high prio in a lot of our other series.
Yeah, definitely. It's the pick I'm looking out for. I also think the Maokai Sejuani, as you touched on, Odo, is a great pick. It was actually banned out now, the Pantheon. So I really want to see Sheo on one of those. I think it sets up his team really nicely.
Sheo and Sejuani?
Yeah, why not?
Yeah, I mean, it's not like...
What did you...
No, I'm just saying, like, it's a very common, like, we see Sheo and he's found a lot of success, so that absolutely makes sense.
Okay, fair enough.
Yeah, I agree.
Nice.
I do feel like Maokai is going to become a little bit of a power pick here, because I think I'm looking at top lane, there's still the champions from the sort of Gnar, Open, these sort of blind picks. So...
Narson.
Good one. That was pretty good.
I mean,
it took you like a second.
Here you could skip picking your jungle because you're gonna get Sejuani or Maokai either way. So if there's something else you really want in your draft, this is the time to take it.
And it's a Sejuani.
But they decided Sejuani is far more valuable than the Maokai. So
that's weird, no? To prioritize the Sejuani over Maokai.
It does restrict you a little bit, yeah, because you need melees, and I feel like with Renekton being out and Bessa being out, on top lane you won't really have access easily to melees. Maybe you go a tanky boy.
You could look for the Aatrox blind pick, is something he's liked in the past, but Aatrox blind is a little bit risky against someone that plays Kamiloo like Canna does. That could be something you run into. Even the Gnar matchup, I think, can be quite tricky for the Aatrox.
Yeah, Leona was something that you highlighted earlier on, Oda, saying that that is a pick that you would like to see, having that locked in first from the side of KC. They're looking to prio bot lane.
Well, what do you think about the potential Kamiloo blind pick for Carlsen here? Because it has been his best top lane champ, and Jax and Renekton are both out.
I still feel like you run into the sort of Gnar who are, even though it's kind of 50-50, I still feel like it's not so easily...
Even with Sejuani, it's gonna help you set you up and camp you.
I think it's valid. I think it's a really valid point to make Jax Spectre. I think it's a fine pick. If you're really confident in your Kamiloo ability, a draft like this is one of the best chances you have to bind that champion. And I wonder what kind of would bring out. I think it would maybe be a little bit difficult to find a really good champion into it, but it will be the Gnar problem. Yeah.
Well, I'm looking here as a counter pick potentially later on. We could be looking at the Cannon. We could have the Sylas snatch away from the Sejuani pairing. That would be interesting, but I do think that here the match would be probably the support, because I feel like you're still in a position where you can easily drop with the ADC.
Yeah, I think if you get targeted here on support, you might run out of good picks. I'm not really sure what Stend wants to go into this Leona. I really like this Leona takeaway from KC, but it's actually the Sylas. So even though they only have the Leona ult, just pairing it up with Sejuani.
I just think when you pick Sejuani, you're not really having access to any of the melees, because if you drop here realistically, Sylas would be banned, Akali would be banned, Sion is banned from the first three, so now you're kind of restricting yourself. The Ivern pick is actually quite good. It's a great pairing with Leona, and I'm already liking the direction KC's draft is going to.
Really curious what they choose to pair up this Ivern with in the top side, because I feel like most of the champions that you would like to play into Gnar are kind of out. There is the Aatrox on 4 that I could see being brought out into the Gnar, but that's not really a counter pick. That is just like a fine Aatrox matchup that you can play.
Yeah, it's kind of just a slot-in champion where you're not really... Well, you're going to lose a little bit, I guess. You're not really going to be that much down, but it's one of these picks that fills the comp very, very well, and it's pretty much self-sufficient. You can put attention to it. He's going to reward you quite well, but you can also just leave it alone because it's not going to be any sort of volatility in that sense.
From the side of Heretics, though, where would you look to put the majority of your resources this game?
I think it's going to depend a bit on the top matchup, probably. But usually when you have a Sylas and Sejuani, you're going to be looking to spend some time there for sure.
I would like a Lulu be for the side of Heretics, because now with the Sejuani, with the Sylas, I think you're allowed to play kind of an Enchanter in the bot lane.
I think
Sivir. Yeah, Sivir, I was going to say Sivir as well, looks really good here. Yeah. I think you can really pick something that just scales and becomes a monster in those late game teamfights together with an Enchanter. And I think the Draven ban kind of signals that this might be something they're looking for.
Exactly, because you have the Sejuani and the Sylas for the front line. Gnar as well, if he times his mega, he's gonna be, you know, a beefy boy in the front. And right now, with all the melee supports being out, realistically, you have to pivot into this sort of Enchanter plus Sivir, which I would say. But now with the Xayah being picked, if I remember, Jack, Sivir is decently scaling versus Xayah.
So I think Sivir Lulu would be great here. I'm not sure Stend has really anything else to play, but maybe they want to go for... They could also go for Ashe Lulu. Or maybe Stend has something else in his pocket. Oh, Ashe Seraphine. Ooh, I mean, that's another great one.
I like this.
Very good scaling, very good laning phase. So now I think, for me, if I'm Team Heretics, I want my Sejuani to be going mid and bot lane and just kind of ignore top lane. I think Gnar should have a fine matchup here unless Canna picks something crazy.
I see a crazy Olaf angle, but I doubt we're gonna see it. I think it's gonna be an Aatrox, but Olaf into those 5 champions would...
I would even pick a heavy tank on top lane here, because when I look at it, you have so much CC on the side of Team Heretics that you want to find, you know, pretty much start the fight and keep it rolling, and they do go for the Sion, because I feel like when you have this sort of double ADC comp with the Corki and the Xayah, all you need is more and more peeling, because Ivern will already tempo the fight, but having Ivern only to play with Leona and shielding her, it doesn't really bring a lot of value. But now with Sion, I feel like Casey just has an unstoppable war.
I'm not gonna lie, Canna on a tank and Team Heretics with a great draft here, great early game, and really good scaling. I'm pretty excited for Team Heretics.
Yeah, and I feel like maybe you run into the danger of a full AD profile for Casey here. They have the Sion, Corki, and the Xayah into Sejuani. It's going to be very easy to message for that Sejuani.
2 great drafts from both of these teams, and this is do or die for Heretics. Can they push this to Silver Scrapes, or is Casey gonna be walking away with the win here, staying alive in this lower bracket and going up against Fnatic? Let's find out.
Well, interesting draft always, you say in fields. We get to the 4s and the 5s. As Yike once again back on the Ivern, the tree man. Vedius, you said he was a man of the forest.
Friend of the forest.
And here we are, we get proof in the pudding. As, I mean, again, Jack was saying he really likes the draft from Team Heretics here. A lot of pace, a lot of power through mid-jungle, having melee. And seeing Canna on tank top.
That's what I was going to talk about. Yeah, Sion being added to Canna's champion pool. And it's something that is very strong globally. But I think it also kind of sets up Casey for what is a very simple composition. This front to back with double AD carry that gets both buffed up by the Ivern. And it's going to be on Heretics to see if they can disrupt that. And there's a lot of disruption in this kit with the Seraphine ultimate across the top, some things Kamiloo can pick up. So honestly, I think we're in for some banger team fights.
I still remember that interview that was very much about... We don't want Canna on anything that isn't a carry. And so that's the big thing to me. Is this just an ode to the Bouse? Will we get Lethality Sion? That's what I'm hoping. But in any case, yes, as you rightly said, I think it's a great summary. Front to back, team fighting style. And Hysterics, you seem very excited about the fact that there is a
Unsealed spellbook on the pig.
Do you have more? Was there more, or were you...
I'm just excited because, honestly, like, I'm so used to Aftershock every single matchup that going Unsealed Spellbook here, I don't know, it's fun. I just didn't expect to see an Unsealed Spellbook.
So there were changes to it in the most recent patch, from what I recall. They basically reduced the cooldown, they made it easier to have more options, and they just wanted to try and make it a slightly more viable option. I don't remember the Ornn that did it, but I want to recall that one Ornn during the LEC playoffs did run Unsealed Spellbook as well.
Yeah, and I know there was a Braum as well in the LCK that ran it, but yeah, I think it's just, my thought goes to, okay, so what are the values that we're trying to get? Because he's also running Hex Flash, so it's, I'm going to use Flash, but hold on to Hex Flash, but also then Unsealed Spellbook at the same time, so it feels a little funky to me. So I'm assuming we're going to get some answer into the early game as to how this is going to work out.
Canyon did it. Like, I am looking through games day by day by day by day on LoL VVV. Aftershock, Aftershock, Phase Rush, Aftershock, and there's a singular game in here I'm looking. Canyon, 0-6-10 heart still. So that's a bit of fun. So whether that is exact, I mean, again, testing the waters, just do or die, as Ginny said on the desk. And Casey last game looked so reformed, so defined. Team Heretics going to be up to them with this Seraphine bot with so much pick and so many more tools in the kit this time. And especially when Kamiloo plays Sylas up against the guy who's trying to imitate Dagda in EU. Let's see what they pull out.
I really like that Heretics is not afraid to bring out these winning bot lanes. Of course, their win in this series was when they brought out the Nico. And I think on Seraphine, she can be a great champion of finding these big multi-man engages as well.
Yep.
Of course, Casey's bot lane, they're level 3 monsters. You've got to be so careful of playing around that level in particular just because of how quickly they can collapse onto you and kind of do an insane amount of damage. And already they're setting up for Yike to hover around and look for a gank. Maybe they can burn some summoner spells here. But the awareness from Heretics, Sheo's in position as well.
He's the level behind, but Yike's going to get in first. Root Caller connects, and over the wall he finds himself. Pops the sphere, and Flakked's out of range, but Stend with a good turnaround. Targamas in trouble. Permafrost stacking up as well. It's 1 versus 1, and Sheo has to flash away because Caliste damage is starting to amend. Yike flashes in, gets the trigger set melee. Flakked goes cleanse, flash away. Stend with a double root, but again, all summoners out, no one dies. Blood yet to be spilled.
There was so many close calls for the junglers on both sides in that fight. That root caller giving Yike the repositioning he needed to get out of the fight. And then Sheo kind of learning that, well, Unsealed Spellbook does not make me very tanky in these early stages.
I wonder if there was a bit of a disconnect between Targamas and Yike, because Targamas flashed in onto Stend, whereas Yike seemed to be aiming towards Flakked. A part of me wonders if he was aiming towards Stend, assuming Flakked might flash, but Flakked had the cleanse, so he was always going to tank that ability up. Either way, the re-engage comes through from Sheo, and you hit the nail on the head, Dagda. I think he thought that he was tankier than he actually was, and then the turnaround that came through from Casey's bot lane meant that he almost lost his life. But no first blood drawn just yet, which means that both these teams find themselves at the tipping point to who will find that first advantage.
Yeah, this is where I'm curious to see what Sheo does though, because you can see he still has the Hex Flash that he was running. So now does he start to get creative with some of the gank pathing that he wants to get, like being able to Hex Flash over, say, a pit somewhere, trying to get into positions that might catch KC off guard? Or are we going to see him start to swap in towards maybe something like Ignite for this potential gank when Smite's on cooldown, or some of these other options that could become available for him?
Just noticed we entered this early game, or at least watching through it. Vladi has already found a bit of a lead. Kamiloo down a bit of CS as Wave gets pushed up against his turret. About a wave for now. So already, again, we're returning to the world of Vladi as Yike missed that root caller that would have stopped the back. Goes back to farming. And now I can say that Sheo handily has a lead. As Kamiloo, by the way, maxing Chain Lash, as you expect here in range matchups for Sylas. Yeah, Canna on a tank. That's it. Not often do we talk about Canna on a tank. I'll tell you what tanks he's played this split. Cassante. That's it. One game, by the way. One game is the follow-up on Targamas. Dropping the beat is nice from Flakked, but they spot out that there is a tree once again in the forest.
On the bot side of the map, I'd love to see the junglers pop their head in that general direction again. Just like I say it, both junglers are hovering around. I think that with the no summoner spells on either support, it's just a great opportunity to fish for a gank. It looks like both bot lanes are showing that respect, the possibility of a gank going to come through. Yike still needs to clear his junglers. He's going to go scoop all those up. Level 6.
Not going to find, but yeah, Carlsen's about to evolve. Kind of just steps back a little bit as well.
Sheo on the bottom side again, though. So Stend going to clear out the vision. See if maybe Targamas wants to look for something on Flakked as it goes.
Sheo is just waiting, sees Yike. Targamas is face checking. Xenoblade going to be taken, but Flakked's got the damage unloaded. Permafrost to slow down the play, but Sheo's in trouble again. No, Aftershock is hurting, but the lethal tempo's there from Flakked. He's getting some autos in, he's weaving in. It's good. Caliste also stacking up as, again, some damage from Stend. And this bot lane refuses to die from either side.
So Sheo did swap to the cleanse in that fight, but I don't know if he actually ended up cleansing something or just gave him the extra little bit of movement that he needed to get out. But still, nobody going down on that bottom side fight. Both junglers paying a lot of attention to bot lane.
What was crazy to me was not only did Targamas have the resistances from his W, but also the shielding from Yike made Targamas so tanky. He was so durable in that exchange. I really thought that he was just going to die, especially with no flash available, but he held his ground, and now the swap comes through from Canna. Now, I think we've seen G2 be one of the best examples of utilizing Sion to swap around the Rift a lot. And it seems to me that Casey's definitely taking a page out of their book. We only have to think back to last week when it was Casey that played into this style of play from G2. And it's an affair that's basically very difficult for the opposition to deal with, because you can kind of, as you've just seen, Canna rotates to the bot side very, very quickly. The swap comes through early from Caliste and Targamas. They're already in position. Then Carlsen has to respond. You push in that bot wave, and then you can swap very quickly again, while also having numbers advantage on the top side.
You do have to be careful of swaps from mid and jungle, though, on KC's side. Yike already looking to steal away that crop. On top side, he just got to put potential movement from Vladi too.
Daisy just spawned as well, has the trigger seed on top, and there's the dive, but Targamas gone a little bit deep where Caliste can't follow. Daisy just came into this world, now getting sent away. Flakked. Be the same color. It looks so cool. They're both roses or something.
I like the idea, but there wasn't really any follow-up. Like, Caliste was still underneath the tower, and this is kind of the downside of even getting the good swap. You can't really get the wave crashed back out by Caliste and Targamas, and Sheo feeling comfortable.
He's going to disappear. That's 50 gold to Kamiloo, but he gets poked out for that thanks to Vladi. He's stolen some rockets on the way, tries to use the AP, but Team Heretics on grubs first. Over the wall, Yike hovers as arrow. It flies, and it hits. And now Vladi's stuck in place and Skondam duck. He's dead. Stend took the kill, though. What the hell?
I mean, Kamiloo ran out of skill. They had nothing left.
That's his stage presence.
And then Stend's passive ends up picking up the kill. Obviously not ideal. They would have loved to hand that gold over to Kamiloo, but a nice use of the first Ashe arrow of the game from Flakked. He's able to connect onto the mid laner. And Kamiloo, after being subject to many first bloods himself throughout this series, finally gets a bit of revenge as they find a kill onto Vladi.
Ripple grubs on top of that as well. After the kill, Team Heretics, bit of a lead in early game. Remember, they also got Dragon. So this early game is going really well, and it feels like it's coming off the back of this bot lane. They got dove twice, or rather got attempted to dove by Yike, or at least get in there for the 2v2.
Yeah, and I think a lot of it comes off of, as we were saying, the rotation for Caliste and Targamas was nice, but you never really get that wave to bounce back out because you're into the double range matchup and there's little you can do. So unless Yike was able to immediately go top and Targamas looks for the engage, great. But we saw what that looked like, where they tried to go underneath the tower and couldn't really do anything. So I think Heretics kind of playing well off the fact that they can abuse this double range and the push that both Ashe and Seraphine offer to this bottom lane.
Dive is being threatened onto Carlsen. Immediate TP comes through from Kamiloo to dissuade that dive, and Casey will respect it. They're happy though. Summon a spell advantage gained. Now the mid lane is left exposed, and Vladi's going to reach there first, meaning that there's no response to that push. Kamiloo's sticking around. They don't have a play here.
I know he's there.
They're just wasting time. Yeah. The pings are coming down, and that's going to be free damage. So big misplay there from Kamiloo. Just overstaying is welcome. Of course, the initial TP to help protect his top laner. Great. Good stuff. But then the overstay means that Vladi extends the CS differential to, well, you can see on your screen, about 13 now, 2 waves.
That was a full wave he lost just then. Absconded Duck to bring it back. Permacross dodged away with the Valkyrie. Now here comes the engaged Targamas. Makes Kamiloo flash. He's got a solar flare stolen though, after Kamiloo used his own, or rather Targamas. So Kamiloo now has an ult up, but again, no flash burn. When he lost all that CS.
Yeah, I don't think he really wants to try and go into that 3-man unit of KC, but still, flash burnt and a little bit more. Now Carlsen up against Caliste topside.
Gnar available, goes into the yellow zone. He's starting to build up. Caliste needs a root back because the follow-up is disgusting. Root does come through. Carlsen about to evolve. He gets the slow, the redemption. A helping grace from Yike all the way across the map.
I think Caliste got a little lucky that boomerang initially didn't hit. The slow would have given Carlsen just enough, I think, to catch up to him, maybe flash over the root collar as well. So Caliste's going to be able to survive on that top side, and it'll all be back to everyone resetting to get back on the map.
You'll notice, though, that this is exactly how KC want things. Flakked and Stend playing into a Sion, opening up Targamas to roam around the map. They're very happy with this position. You'll notice that Sion even has a gold lead in the bot lane 2 versus 1, and Stend is not roaming that much. Ideally, when you're playing Seraphine plus Ashe, you want to stay in the 2v2 as long as possible so that you can just poke away your opponent's HP bars and win out on the trades. And the fact that Targamas is being unlocked without the threat of his AD carry being dived means that he's able to work with Yike to find plays on the map, and they've already been able to find a play onto Kamiloo in the mid lane, even if it didn't result in a kill.
35 seconds till Dragon spawns. Heretics are moving into River, and I'm just watching because, again, Flakked has that arrow up. Encore also available alongside Stend. Daisy says peekaboo. There's the arrow, flies and hits Targamas. AoE slow as well, helps out, but Kamiloo doesn't want to take the trade. His hijacks on cooldown. There's the Encore finally. It's a 2-man, but they need some damage to fly out. Flakked gets the flash from Yike, but meanwhile, Stend is dead. Seraphine's in the ground, and Targamas, while he's getting hit, he's taking so long to die. He resists and Team Heretics get attacked in jungle support.
Heretics just don't have the damage. The arrow connects onto Targamas. Kamiloo is hesitant to follow up on a play onto Vladi. Meanwhile, KC do not spare any time in re-engaging onto the Seraphine. They one-shot Stend with the damage from Vladi and Targamas, and now they're threatening a dive.
Yeah, and that taking is going to be shown once more under the turret. Kamiloo's ulti's taken, but it's not enough for Targamas. He refuses, and Carlsen flashes away. Canna will survive even after the autos come through. Carlsen going to Mega, though. Might change the play. Into the orange bar, the boomerang out of range, but again, a red brewing. Bounces, looks for the wall, finds it at the tip of the spear, or rather the claws. Canna still survives. Dragon goes down. KC rising through the early game again.
KC just about able to get Canna out of the top side, but big win is here in this fight in the bottom lane. You see here the engage comes through, but Kamiloo doesn't have an ultimate to steal because he took that Leona ult in mid lane. So KC kind of just absorb it. There's no follow-up there. And then they're able to turn and burn. The ultimate from Targamas was clutch as well, answering for a Stend's engage. And Caliste then being able to roam down and joining the rest of the team. So as Vedius said, there's just not enough damage onto the core targets. And so many of the heals and shields that are offered from this Ivern coming in clutch to this kind of extended fight that ends up working out.
I mean, you've got a Rod of Ages Sylas with an Ashe. And those champions in the early game, they don't hit that hard. Yeah. In contrast to Corki's Q, which will just take off like a quarter of your HP. Especially if you've been stunned up by the Leona and you've got her passive adding on top. But we talked about it in like the first few levels. Yike's shielding on top of Targamas' W. He's just this
clutch aftershock.
He's so insanely tanky.
And I've really gotten an insight into this unsealed spellbook, not because of what the versatility and option is. Sheo just so much quicker to die. Like it hurts to see a bit. We'll talk about the reliability as the game goes on, but again, it's a big difference that we haven't actually had the chance to experience much in competitive play.
But that's the thing, I feel like you kind of need to be getting value out of the swaps. Like, okay, we can look for an Ignite in this sort of position, or an Exhaust on towards maybe Vladi in that fight, but we haven't really got to see them swapping over. I think that is the problem, is that as you need Smite for a jungler, it doesn't quite work out as easy as swapping away from some of these as you would like.
Even a clever TP play, like Dragon's about to spawn, maybe gank top with your top laner, and then you TP with your top laner down to the Dragon fight. Like, there's all sorts of potentially creative plays.
Good to keep an eye out there for, because in this game of 15 minutes, short KC do have a lead, about 2,500 gold, but it still continues on. It's like it might be caught out in rotation, slowed down with the beat dropping. The flash away though, Flakked solo flare tied up front, but the feathers will fly out. Caliste finds one as Stend runs for his life, and KC just keep doing this. They keep finding Team Heretics caught with their pants down.
It's an easy punish as Flakked walks into the topside river thinking that he's safe. Kamiloo steals away the Leona ultimate, but I don't think there's much the Heretics can do. Look at Canna on your minimap.
I'm looking.
He has proxied the wave, coming through the jungle, threatening a flank. Is he going to look for a play?
The Vedius Smash is going to find Sheo. There's good damage and just a bit of poke, a bit of a ruse. While meanwhile, that Herald is going to drop quite easily.
And the top tower completely uncontested as well. KC are just getting everything on the map, ballooning their gold lead now, a 3k advantage.
And they kill Targamas. Solar Flare was stolen, now used. Permafrost as well, but here comes the Sion. He just ulties back with the arrow, misses Targamas. He's out again. The unkillable Demon Sunlord is in the bottom lane for KC this game, and Team Heretics just can't stand him.
He's so tanky with the aftershock, and also then the support of his team coming through means that Targamas just able to walk on out, and Vladi getting top tower alongside this as well. KC looking to make sure they are kicking Heretics out of playoffs.
4,000 gold, gents. That's the lead now. 16 minutes. It keeps developing, and you know, you look at mid, it happened through the laning phase, but it's happening through the rest of the game as well. 2,000, an individual lead that massive before the 20-minute clock strikes. It's unbelievable.
I also just think this KC comp spikes so much harder on one item than what Heretics do. And so the more that they try to fight at this point in the game, it's a tough one. It's a real tough one. So they kind of have to slow the game down. But in the same vein, do you really want to slow the game down against an Ivern? Yeah, because like the front to back isn't necessarily going to get any easier. And the desk was saying that they really did like the draft from Heretics, and I very much agree with them. You can see all the components, the ideas, the potential side lane options that they have, the pick potential. But ultimately, when it comes to the front to back, based on the way that they're itemizing, like at what point will Heretics have enough damage to be winning out on the front-to-back fight.
Yeah, I think they really needed the early fights to kind of go better, where they were like, hey, we've got this Stend ultimates come across, and we immediately have the follow-up, like a great Kamiloo ultimate. Excuse me, sorry, that can be stolen away, but even then, Kamiloo doesn't have access to a ton of great ultimates on the KC side of things, so it hasn't exactly been the best times for the Sylas, and Canna's just been doing a good job of rotating around the map and keeping Heretics from really being able to find these answers to KC as they open up with these front-to-backs in the 4v4. So I think it's just become difficult for Heretics to try and find moments to really take control of this game.
God, Vladi is always the one taking the turret solo. Canna defends top. Kamiloo does a bit of proxying. He's got a Sion ulti to steal, but would they really want to use it? Because KC now on third dragon of the game, it's going to be theirs. Nothing really is going to be the trade, and gents, you know, it does feel like again since that game 2, KC went backstage and we're like, we've got it, guys. We've got to really lock in. I said it last game, I'll say it again. KC have definitely cleaned up a lot of passage of their players. Sheo's testing, but Yike sends out Daisy, good bodyguard.
Uncontested dragon for KC, and just overall an incredibly clean early game from them. I like how they've utilized the Sion, the swaps that they've been able to get for themselves. The fact that Vladi, every time action is happening on the map, is constantly sitting in a side lane and farming up. He secured two towers, rather, for his team. And this is a 4.9k gold lead, 19 minutes in. We had question marks around the early game coming into the series, but they've definitely demonstrated some very strong performances this series.
I was going to say, game 2 definitely felt like a wake-up call for them. You could kind of see they were getting a bit loosey-goosey with it, seeing if they could just play with their food with Heretics.
Oh,
but
yeah,
since 3 and 4, it's been, hey, we're taking compositions that are much slower. Never going to look for picks.
Sheo's on a ward, he's on a ward, and he's not tanky again. Where's the aftershock? Maybe a turnabout play, though. Good arrow. Carlsen has an ulti. Finally killing Targamas on the to-do list, but he flashes away. No way! Not again! Somebody kill Targamas! It's like watching Kill Bill, but in reverse. As the ulti stolen, but Kamiloo chased with an auto for Vladi to take his keep. Targamas is laughing right now.
Aftershock OP.
Aftershock is very OP indeed. Targamas, just, I mean, what a better definition of a front line. Canna now acting as support as well.
More people there.
Regrouping with his team. Heretics, they can't do much. Daisy comes down, and there should be another tower secured for KC.
Canna, he's just taking damage from Stend, but they're going to turn it. That turret is not a safety net. Sheo front line, Arctic assault away, bounced away by Carlsen, but he just used his Gnar ult. It's on a 5-second cooldown. Solar Flare down, Vladi auto attacks him with Root Caller. They follow suit. Decimating smash again as KC keep taking more and more and more. And at 7,500 gold, how much more is it going to be?
I was going to say, do they just turn immediately towards Adakan? Although it looks like the full resets are going to come through. Wasn't sure if they're just going to TP Vladi in for that, but KC, ultimate for Flakked is up relatively soon, but yeah, there's that TP from Vladi just to make sure his team can get out. Maybe fish for a pick.
I think they're overstaying their welcome if they really...
A little bit, yeah.
Oh, they're overstaying their welcome.
Will it matter? Carlsen just going to be chunked out. Vladi gets the wave, and you can see that no one from Team Heretics is here yet. About.
Is the welcome coming?
Kamiloo, apart from rather. Yike's backing, waiting. But does he have enough damage to do anything? He's got a Rod of Ages and a Haunting, guys.
Yep.
So there's literally nothing until that Leandris is finished.
I think he's going
Riftmaker, sorry.
Yeah. With the Conqueror, it's what you normally see anyway. Adakan going to be started off, a 2-man secure from KC. Little in the way of a contest from Heretics, given their jungler is sitting on blue buff right now. What a one-sided stomp this is turning into from KC. The gold lead just continues to grow. 7k now with the Adakan as well.
No, Vedius, I believe in love stories.
Okay.
I believe in miracles. You just listen to the rhythm of my heart.
Right.
I thought it was you sexy things.
No.
I believe in things. Oh, okay.
I couldn't hit the high note. But, you know, Team Heretics is split, and throughout this year, it's been a developmental road. Seeing Carlsen, Kamiloo come into the LEC, seeing Sheo lead. We talked a lot of good things about Team Heretics. Kamiloo just going to steal the ulti. But in the face of KC, I think a lot of people thought that this matchup was going to be one-sided, not because of first seed versus sixth, but because of the individual skill that's been shown from people like Vladi. Canna is good sidestep again. Yike caught out, flashes over the wall. See, all you have to do is talk about how good KC is, and apparently things go bad for them. I don't know.
But the sentiment that you're trying to get across is that I think Heretics certainly have exceeded many expectations. They've been a super entertaining team to watch this split. I think Sheo has really stood out as a jungler, and I think it really puts into perspective the impact that he had on BDS back when they were consistently a top 3 team in the league. Carlsen, now, he's out of position. He will fall.
Oh, he did.
And it definitely feels like that we're kind of singing the usual eulogy of Heretics to Spring, given the gold lead only continues to grow.
Oh, trying to pick Vladi, miss. Unfortunate there. Sheo hasn't had the best game, and there's the encore that's out. It's gone. It's Team Heretics swan song. Vedius lined it up, and I think I'm putting the stake in. Apparently they're vampires.
I can't even blame Sheo for that one. It was the immediate Mikhail's Crucible from Yike, which meant that Vladi just was able to piece out away from it. So Sheo's ult ends up going wide. KC were ready, and now they're tearing through the base. And again, minute and a half until Baron spots.
Inhibitor's going to be dropped for it. They can't end the game because Flakked's up in 20. Sheo the same, but they'll find mid turret as well with its inhibitor attached. You see Vladi's, or rather Kamiloo's just down bot. He's trying to get something with the wave, but as that dragon spawns, it'll be third for KC. It'll be 11,000 of a gold lead. And our first seed of the LEC Spring. They are annoyed at the Koi series. They're annoyed that they lost 3-2.
Yeah, I mean, the winner of this series... Oh, of course, the brush. Oh. Okay, the Spidey senses were tingling there. He's able to walk away. We look back at this play in mid lane, and you talked about the Mikhails that came through. The CC had already actually fallen off at that point, but still, it comes through. Vladi's damage is absolutely monstrous. He flashes in to help clean up those kills, and then the fight breaks up into 2 parts as Yike gets that follow-up kill onto Stend. Very well played by Vladi. Really has been the core carry, I would say, here in the final game, or potentially final game, unless Heretics can find a miracle comeback, given the gold lead now finds itself 10.5k the difference.
They did do it with 13.5. Was it this split or last split?
That's very true. Admittedly, they hadn't lost 2 inhibitors at this point in the game.
That was against BDS, remember? So, let's see. Optimism. The teleport comes in. KC taking everything from the jungle as well.
I think the problem is that you've already lost your inhibitor and Baron has only just spawned. So Vladi's just going to push in that top wave, create pressure there, and then immediately they go for Baron. And even look at where Carlsen's going on the map. He's gone for the bot lane.
I see a Sejuani trying to steal. I see Sheo at the edge of vision, hoping for a miracle. He's done it before, and he's looking to do it again at 5k. Vladi just checked this bush. It's now spotted out, but Vladi sees him. The damage is immense. Getting towards the Baron seems impossible as they held up until he's out of sight. Solar Flare for the slow. Baron is the take. Sheo's dead in the end. A valiant effort for their curtain call.
The redemption to finish off Sheo as well, with the Baron and the Nexus towers set in the sights of KC. A last-ditch effort from Heretics is all they have left to stop themselves being eliminated from Spring.
They showed up in passes today. They took a game from KC once again, but looks like our first seed were too much. Jumping in, Carlsen even denied. Only finds one with the Mega Gnar. It was Targamas again, who remains deathless in this game. At 26 minutes, Caliste is ready to rush in. As KC looked for the next turret, Kamiloo ran in. Caliste with the feathers out. The ulti from Canna on his newfound tank. And a bare Nexus in our elimination match. As we say goodbye to Team Heretics. KC, they're done. They're moving to tomorrow. They've finally dealt with the Heretics. Now, on to the Fanatics.